Captain Hannah Kim stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the stars streak past on the main view screen. The experimental ship hummed with energy as it pushed the boundaries of human technology. This was supposed to be a simple test flight. Jump. To a nearby star, collect data and return to Earth. Nothing more. FTL systems are stable, Captain, reported pilot Jun Lee, his fingers dancing across the control panel. All readings in the green. Hannah nodded, feeling a surge of pride. The hue. Defiant was humanity's first true faster-than-light vessel, built in secret over the past decade. Its crew of 12 represented the best minds Earth had to offer. 3 minutes until we exit jump space, announced Jun. The bridge crew tensed with excitement. This was only their third jump, and the longest by far. Hannah checked her uniform and straightened her shoulders. All stations, prepare for exit. Dr. Song, are the sensors ready to record everything? Yes, Captain, replied Dr. Song from the science station. We won't miss a thing. The countdown reached 0, and the view screen flashed as the Defiant tore back into normal space. For a moment, everyone held their breath, waiting to see what new star system they had reached. What they saw made their blood run cold. Captain, I'm reading multiple large objects surrounding us, whispered Junho, the sensor operator. His voice cracked with shock. Very large objects. The view screen adjusted, and Hannah's heart skipped a beat. Massive ships, clearly warships, hung in space around them. Their dark, angular hulls gleamed in the light of an unfamiliar sun. Each one dwarfed the Defiant by at least 20 times. Are they? Began Hannah, unable to finish the sentence. Not human, confirmed Dr. Song, her voice barely audible. Definitely not human. Security Chief Day Park immediately activated the ship's defense systems, though everyone knew their small vessel stood no chance against such a fleet. Communications Officer Sung, open all channels, ordered Hannah, fighting to keep her voice steady. Let's try to talk to them before they decide we're a threat. Sung worked frantically at her station, broadcasting on all frequencies using universal greeting protocols. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had pale blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. When it spoke, the ship's computer struggled to translate. Unknown vessel, you have entered Valerian Imperial space. Identify yourselves immediately. Hannah stepped forward. I am Captain Hannah Kim of the Earth vessel Defiant. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and meant no trespass. We were unaware this system was claimed by another civilization. The alien's upper eyes narrowed. Earth, this world is unknown to the Imperial Registry. We are new to interstellar travel, explained Hannah carefully. This is only our 3rd test flight using our new technology. The alien commander said something the translator couldn't catch, and several officers behind him moved quickly. They're scanning us, warned Junho. Deep scans, trying to access our computer systems. Day Park's hands hovered over the weapons controls. Captain? Hold, ordered Hannah. Let's not make the first aggressive move in humanity's first contact. The alien commander returned his attention to them. Your technology is unusual, primitive in some ways, yet advanced in others. There was a pause. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. The Imperial Science Division will want to study your vessel and its occupants. Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. With respect, Commander, we cannot allow unknown forces to board our vessel. We would be happy to arrange a proper diplomatic meeting. You misunderstand, interrupted the alien. This was not a request. The Valerian Empire has ruled this sector for 3,000 years. Your species will be catalogued, and your world added to our territories. Resistance is pointless. The transmission cut off abruptly. Captain, they're powering up some kind of energy weapons, reported Junho, his voice rising in panic. And I'm detecting smaller vessels launching from the larger ships. Hannah's mind raced. They couldn't fight, couldn't outrun such a massive force, and diplomacy had failed in less than 5 minutes. Options? She asked her senior officers. Chief Engineer Min looked up from his station. The jump drive needs at least 15 minutes to recharge for another jump. Oh, we don't have 15 minutes, said Day grimly. Those smaller ships will reach us in 3. Hannah made a decision. Evasive maneuvers, Pilot Lee. Keep us moving, but don't fire unless I give the order. Dr. Song, record everything. If we don't, make it back to Earth. Someone needs to know what happened here." As the Defiant began to move, the Valerian ships adjusted their positions with surprising speed. "They're trying to box us in," noted Jun Li, his hands steady despite the danger. Hana looked at the tactical display, showing the Earth's tiny ship surrounded by the might of an interstellar empire that saw humans as nothing more than another species to conquer. "We need to buy time," she said, her mind already formulating a desperate plan. "If we can't jump away, perhaps we can use the experimental shields to hold them off long enough." As the first alien boarding craft approached, Hana Kim faced the greatest challenge any human captain had ever encountered. First contact had gone terribly wrong, and the fate of Earth itself might depend on what happened in the next few minutes. The sea. First Valerian boarding shuttle clamped onto the Defiant's hull, with a metallic thud that echoed through the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. "They've attached to Airlock 3, reported Security Chief Day Park, checking the internal sensors. "I'm reading at least 8 alien life forms. They're cutting through." Captain Hana Kim's mind raced. With 12 crew members against an empire, they needed to buy time. "Security teams to all airlocks. Dr. Song, seal all critical systems behind. Emergency barriers." Throughout the ship, the crew rushed to defensive positions. They had trained for pirates or accidents, not alien invaders. In engineering, Chief Engineer Tay Park worked frantically to protect the ship's heart, the experimental FTL drive. Unlike conventional engines that sat at the rear of a ship, the Defiant's drive was integrated throughout the hull, using a network of quantum conduits. "They're breaking through Airlock 3. Came the alert over the comm system. Tay glanced at the diagnostic screens and noticed something odd. Each time the aliens cut through another layer of the airlock, strange energy readings spiked across the FTL network. The aliens' cutting tools were somehow interacting with the quantum field. On Deck 2, the first Valerian soldiers pushed through the damaged airlock. They moved with mechanical precision, their armor gleaming with embedded technology. Each carried what looked like energy weapons and scanning devices. Their 4 eyes constantly shifted, taking in every detail. The human security team opened fire from behind hastily erected barricades. The Valerians seemed surprised by the primitive projectile weapons, apparently expecting energy beams, but their armor deflected most rounds. "Fall back to Checkpoint 2, ordered Lieutenant Jin, as the aliens advanced. On the bridge, Hana watched the security feeds with growing dread. "They're moving too fast, we can't hold them off." "Captain," Tay's voice came over the comm, "their technology, it's reacting strangely with our FTL system. Every time they use their cutting tools or scan our systems, I'm seeing disruptions in their equipment." "Explain," demanded Hana. "Our drive uses quantum entanglement in ways they don't seem familiar with," Tay continued, excitement building in his voice. "Their systems rely on some kind of neural network, incredibly advanced but vulnerable to our drive's field emissions. A second boarding shuttle attached to Airlock 1 closer to the bridge. Can we use this?" asked Hana. "Maybe," replied Tay. "If I reroute power to the quantum conduits near the airlocks, I might be able to create a localized field that disrupts their tech. It's risky, though, could damage our systems too." Hana didn't hesitate. "Do it." In engineering, Tay's fingers flew across the controls, redirecting power flows and modifying field parameters. "This wasn't in the operation manual," he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, the aliens had pushed deeper into the ship. Their leader, distinguishable by ornate markings on its armor, held up a device that projected holographic schematics of the Defiant. "Unusual design," it said, its words translated by a device on its wrist. "Inefficient power distribution, primitive materials." Then it paused, noticing something. "Wait, these readings scan deeper." One of the soldiers approached a wall panel, placing a scanning device against it. The device began to glow, then suddenly sparked and went dark. The soldier stumbled back, its armor flickering with error messages. "Something's interfering with our systems," the leader announced. "The humans have deployed countermeasures." On the bridge, Hana watched as the aliens' movements became less coordinated. "It's working!" "Their neural interfaces are failing," reported Jun-Ho from the sensor station. They rely on constant communication with their ships and each other. Tae's voice came through again. Captain, I'm increasing the field strength. Hold on to something. This might get bumpy. The lights dimmed throughout the Defiant as power surged through the quantum conduits. A high-pitched whine filled the face, air painful to human ears, but apparently devastating to Valerian systems. On the security feeds, the aliens staggered, their armor shutting down function by function. Their weapons powered down, and their communications filled with static. Their neural networks can't handle our quantum field, explained Tae. It's like introducing a virus into their systems. The Valerian leader made a quick decision. Retreat. Haul units back to shuttles immediately. The aliens stumbled back toward their boarding craft, some needing to be carried by others, as their armor locked up completely. Within minutes, the boarding shuttles detached from the Defiant and returned to their motherships. Leaving behind damaged airlocks and a few disabled pieces of alien technology, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the Valerian fleet maintained position but launched no further boarding attempts. They're reassessing, said Hana quietly. They thought we would be easy prey. Communications Officer Sung looked up from her station. Captain, I'm picking up massive data transmissions between their ships. They're analyzing what went wrong. Hana stood and walked to the view screen, studying the massive alien warships that still surrounded them. They underestimated us, she said, a small smile forming. Their technology is advanced, but it follows paths we never took. Our quantum mechanics approach the same problems from a completely different direction. So, what do we do now? Asked pilot Jun Lee. We still can't outfight them. Captain Kim's eyes narrowed as she considered their position. No, but we might be able to outsmart them. They've never encountered humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. She turned to face her crew. We're not just fighting for the Defiant anymore. Once they learn about Earth, they'll come for our home. We need to use every advantage, no matter how small. For the first time since they'd arrived in this star system, Captain Hana Kim felt something beyond fear. She felt hope. The bridge of the Defiant had become a war room. Holographic displays showed the positions of the Valerian warships, which had pulled back to a cautious distance after their failed boarding attempt. The mood among the crew was tense but focused. They had earned a temporary reprieve, but everyone knew the aliens weren't finished with them. They're still scanning us, reported Jun-Ho from the sensor station. Different frequencies now, probably trying to work around the interference. Captain Hana Kim nodded grimly. How long until the jump drive is recharged? Another 8 minutes, replied Chief Engineer Tae, but that's not our biggest problem. He pointed to one of the displays. They've already transmitted data about Earth back to their fleet. They know where we came from. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. This wasn't just about their survival anymore. The entire human race was at risk. Science Officer Wu Li had been quiet, analyzing the alien technology they'd captured when the Valerians retreated. Now he looked up, his eyes wide. Captain, I think I found something. All eyes turned to him. Their communication system, he continued, moving to the main display. It's not just for talking. It's how they control their ships, coordinate their weapons, everything. He pulled up diagrams and data streams. Their entire fleet operates on a hive mind principle. Each ship is part of a network, receiving orders and sharing information constantly. That's why they were so coordinated, said Security Chief Day. Yes, but it's also a weakness, Wu explained, his voice quickening with excitement. The system requires perfect synchronization. When our quantum field disrupted the boarding party's neural interfaces, it wasn't just affecting their armor, it was cutting them off from the hive. Captain Kim leaned forward. Can we use this against their entire fleet? Maybe, said Wu, but we'd need something much stronger than what we used against the boarding parties. Tae joined them at the display. The FTL drive could do it. If we modify the quantum field generators and redirect all power, we could create a disruption wave that might affect their entire command structure. Might? Asked Hana. We need better than might if we're betting Earth's future on this. Wu pointed to one of the Valerian ships, larger than the others, with distinctive markings. Their command structure is hierarchical. That's the flagship. If we target it specifically, We could cause a cascade failure throughout their fleet. Like cutting off the head of the snake, mused Day. Exactly, said Wu, but we'd need to get close to it, really close. Pilot Jun Lee, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. That's suicide. The moment we move toward their flagship, they'll blow us apart. Not if we use the jump drive differently, said Tay, his mind racing. Instead of one long jump, what if we program multiple micro-jumps? Short bursts that let us appear and disappear before they can target us. The bridge erupted. In debate. No one had ever attempted using the experimental drive for tactical jumps. It wasn't designed for that. It could tear the ship apart, warned Dr. Song. And if we don't try, Earth is doomed anyway, countered Day. Captain Kim raised her hand, silencing everyone. Let's work the problem. Tay, what exactly would these modifications involve? For the next hour, the crew of the Defiant put together their desperate plan. In engineering, Tay and his team reconfigured the FTL drive's power distribution, while Wu analyzed the Valerian communication frequencies to determine the optimal disruption pattern. On the bridge, Hana and June plotted a series of micro-jumps that would bring them progressively closer to the enemy flagship while minimizing their exposure to Valerian weapons. Each jump will strain the drive more than the last, Tay explained over the comm. We might get 5 or 6 before the system burns out completely. Then we make them count, replied Hana. As the final preparations were made, Captain Kim gathered her senior officers. Their faces showed exhaustion, fear, and determination in equal measure. I won't pretend this isn't dangerous, she told them. Our chances of survival are slim, but we're not just fighting for ourselves. If the Valerians reach Earth, billions of lives are at risk. She looked at each of them in turn. You all signed up to test a new drive, not to fight an alien empire. If anyone wants to object to this plan, now's the time. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Communications Officer Sung stepped forward. My family escaped war when I was a child, she said quietly. I know what it means to protect your home. I'm with you, Captain. One by one, the others nodded their agreement. Then let's get to work, said Hana. Stations, everyone. As the crew dispersed, Dr. Song pulled Hana aside. Captain, there's something else you should know. I've been monitoring the Valerian communications. Their reinforcements are already on the way, a much larger fleet. Hana's face remained calm, though her heart raced. How long do we have? Less than an hour. Then we move now, decided Hana. Tell everyone to secure for jump sequence. Throughout the ship, crew members strapped themselves into impact harnesses. Equipment was locked down, and emergency systems were put on standby. On the bridge, Captain Kim settled into her command chair and opened the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is the captain. In a few moments, we will execute our plan to disrupt the Valerian fleet. The maneuvers will be violent, and the outcome uncertain. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. Whatever happens today, know that you've already made history. We are the first humans to encounter an alien civilization. Now we'll be the first to show them that Earth won't be conquered easily. She nodded to pilot Jun Lee. Begin the jump sequence. The Defiant hummed as its experimental drive powered up. On the view screen, the distant Valerian ships hung against the backdrop of stars, unaware of what was coming. First jump in 3, counted down June. 2, 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a flash of light, the small human ship vanished, making its first move in a desperate gambit to save Earth. The Defiant burst into existence less than a kilometer from one of the Valerian cruisers. For a split second, both ships hung in frozen surprise. Then the human vessel vanished again before the alien gunners could lock their weapons. Jump 1 complete, called out pilot Jun Lee, his hands flying over the controls. Drive holding, at 86%. The entire ship shuddered as the experimental FTL system strained against physics it was never designed to challenge. Warning lights flashed across every console. Structural integrity holding, reported Dr. Song, though her tight grip on her station told a different story. Barely. Captain Hana Kim forced herself to breathe. The violent transition between jumps had slammed her against her restraints, but there was no time for pain. Prepare quantum disruptor for the next jump. Target their communication relay. Disruptor. Ready? confirmed Science Officer Wu. "But we'll need to be even closer for maximum effect." Hana nodded. "June, jump point 2. "Aye, Captain. 3 seconds to jump 2. The Defiant flashed into existence again, this time appearing directly above the Valerian support vessel that coordinated the fleet's communications. Before the aliens could react, Wu activated the modified quantum field. A pulse of invisible energy washed over the alien ship. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then its lights flickered, and its weapons platforms began to rotate randomly. "It's working!" exclaimed Wu. "Their command systems are destabilizing." On the view screen, they watched as the affected Valerian ship began broadcasting contradictory orders to nearby vessels. 2 smaller ships collided as they received conflicting navigation commands. "Jump 3 now!" ordered Hana as energy beams from nearby Valerian destroyers sliced through the space they occupied. The Defiant vanished again, reappearing moments later near another key target. With each jump, they struck another crucial node in the Valerian network, spreading confusion throughout the fleet. After the 4th jump, Engineer Tay's voice came through the comm, tinged with alarm. "Captain, the drive is overheating. Coolant. Systems are failing." "Can we make another jump?" asked Hana. "1, maybe 2 more before catastrophic failure," replied Tay. Security Chief Day checked the tactical display. "The Valerians are adapting. They're spreading out, trying to catch us in a crossfire no matter where we appear." Hana studied the enemy formation. The Valerian ships moved with less coordination now, but they were still deadly. Several were firing randomly into empty space, hoping to hit the Defiant when it reappeared. "They're scared," realized Communications Officer Sung, monitoring the frantic transmissions between enemy vessels. "They don't understand what's happening." A proximity alarm blared as a Valerian energy beam passed within meters of their hull. During the 5th jump, "Too close," shouted Junho. The ship's lights dimmed as power fluctuated wildly. "Drive status?" demanded Hana. "Critical," replied Tay. "1 more jump at most." For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm them. They had caused damage and confusion, but the Valerian fleet was still intact, still powerful enough to destroy them and eventually find Earth. Then Sung straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm detecting a new signal. It's coming from the largest vessel, the one we haven't targeted yet." "Their flagship?" said Hana. "Yes, and the transmission patterns are different," continued Sung. "More direct, more urgent." Wu analyzed the data on his screen. "It's a command override. Someone is taking direct control of the entire fleet." Hana's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "The Emperor, their leader, is taking personal command to stop the confusion." "How do you know it's their Emperor?" asked Day. "What would you do?" "If your fleet was falling apart, you'd put your best commander in charge," said Hana. "This is exactly what we need." Despite the chaos around them, a smile spread across her face. When a hive mind is in disarray, what happens when you suddenly centralize all control to one node? "You create a single point of failure," realized Wu. "June, plot our final jump. Take us directly alongside the flagship," ordered Hana. "Tay, prepare to channel everything we have left into the quantum disruptor. Wu, recalibrate for maximum effect on their command frequencies." The bridge became a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for their final, desperate move. "If this doesn't work," began Day. "Then we gave it our best shot," finished Hana. For Earth, the familiar hum of the FTL drive rose to a scream as the Defiant prepared for its final jump. Systems all over the ship began to fail as power was diverted to the drive and the disruptor. "Jump in 3, court 2, 1, counted June. The universe twisted around them, and suddenly the Defiant hung in space directly beside the massive Valerian flagship. The alien vessel dwarfed them, its weapons already swinging toward the tiny human ship. "Now!" shouted Hana. Wu slammed his hand down on the control. The modified FTL drive pushed beyond its limits, generating a quantum field unlike anything humans had created before. The field expanded outward, washing over the flagship like an invisible tsunami. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, systems across the Valerian vessel began to fail catastrophically. Lights went out, weapons powered down, the massive ship began to drift. But the effect didn't stop there. As the flagship's signals faltered, the confusion spread like wildfire through the fleet. Ship after ship lost control, as contradictory commands flooded their neural networks. On the Defiance bridge, alarms screamed as the overtaxed drive began to tear itself apart. "We need to shut it down," yelled Tay over the comm. "Not yet." Hana called back, watching the cascade of failures spreading through the enemy fleet. Just a few more seconds. Valerian ships fired wildly, hitting their own vessels. Some began emergency shutdowns, while others drifted out of formation entirely. The once mighty armada had become a chaotic mess of disabled and confused vessels. "Drive collapse imminent," warned Tay. Finally, Hana gave the order. "Shut it down. All power to shields." The quantum field collapsed as the Defiant systems powered down to emergency levels. The ship went dark except for backup lighting, drifting silently amid the disabled Valerian fleet. For a long moment, no one spoke as they waited to see if they would be destroyed. Then, gradually, they realized the truth. They had won. The Valerian fleet, pride of an interstellar empire, had been neutralized by a single human ship. "Did we actually just do that?" whispered Jun-Ho, breaking the silence. Captain Hana Kim looked at her battered bridge, her exhausted crew, and the disabled alien armada surrounding them. Against impossible odds, they had fought for their home and won. "Yes," she said quietly. "We did." The bridge of the Defiant was eerily quiet. Emergency lights cast red shadows across exhausted faces as the crew stared at their view screens in disbelief. Outside, the mighty Valerian fleet drifted in disarray, weapons offline, engines dead, communication systems silent. Status report. Captain Hana Kim requested, her voice hoarse. "Our FTL drive is gone," replied Chief Engineer Tay, surveying the damage reports flowing into his tablet. "The quantum core overloaded exactly as planned, but we'll never jump again, not with this ship." "Life support is functioning on backup power," added Dr. Song. "Hull integrity at 60%. We're wounded, but we'll survive." Hana nodded slowly, taking it all in. The gamble had paid off, but at a steep cost. And the Valerians? Science Officer Wu studied his readings. The quantum pulse caused a complete neural network collapse. Their hive mind system couldn't handle the contradictory signals. "Both ships have automatically shut down to prevent further damage. Like a massive computer system rebooting after a virus," explained Jun-Ho, his eyes wide with wonder. "We didn't just beat them, we crashed their entire operating system." AI. Weak cheer went up around the bridge, quickly replaced by an uneasy silence. They had won an impossible victory, but what came next? "Captain," called Communications Officer Yoon Jin suddenly. "I'm receiving a transmission from the flagship. It's different from their previous communications. Simpler protocol, no neural encoding." "They're using a backup system," realized Wu. "Basic radio waves, like our earliest space communications. Put it through," ordered Hana, straightening her uniform despite her exhaustion. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a Valerian unlike any they had seen before. Its skin was a deeper blue, with intricate patterns etched into the flesh around. All four eyes, gold-threaded robes draped its shoulders, and a crystalline structure hovered above its head. "I am Emperor Vor of the Valerian Eternal Empire," it stated without preamble. "You have disabled my fleet using technology we did not anticipate." "Explain." "Yourselves." Hana stepped forward. "I am Captain Hana Kim of Earth. We defended ourselves against your unprovoked attack. We came in peace, but you threatened to conquer our world." The Emperor's upper eyes narrowed. "No species has successfully resisted imperial expansion in 700 years. "Then perhaps it was time someone did," replied Hana, standing her ground. A tense silence followed. Then, surprisingly, the Emperor made a gesture that might have been respect. "Your small vessel has incapacitated 36 capital ships and over 200 support craft. Our neural networks will require extensive reprogramming before functionality returns. You have earned a conversation." Hana glanced at her officers, then nodded to Yoon Jin. "Begin diplomatic protocols." For the next several hours, while engineers on both sides worked to restore basic systems, Yoon Jin led the negotiations. Despite having no formal diplomatic training, her background in cultural linguistics proved invaluable. "The Emperor is pragmatic," she explained during a brief break. "They've conquered thousands of worlds because it was efficient. No one ever gave them a reason to consider alternatives." "And now?" asked Hana. Yunjin smiled slightly. "Now they're curious. We're the first species they've encountered who approached faster than light travel through quantum mechanics rather than gravitational manipulation. Our technology developed along completely different lines than theirs." "They want our technology," realized Security Chief Day with alarm. "Yes," agreed Yunjin, "but they're willing to trade for it rather than take it. That's unprecedented in their history." By the time standard lighting had been restored to the Defiant, a framework agreement had been established. Yunjin worked with the ship's computer to formalize the terms. "It's not a surrender," she clarified as the senior staff gathered in the conference room. "It's more of a mutual recognition treaty." She displayed the document on the main screen. "Earth will be recognized as a sovereign world outside Valerian territory. In exchange, we'll establish a scientific exchange program to share certain technologies." "Can we trust them?" asked Day. "They've provided navigational data for safe passage home, plus recognition codes that will prevent any other Valerian vessels from attacking Earth ships," replied Yunjin. "But more importantly, we've changed how they see us. We're no longer just another primitive species to conquer. We're potential partners." "Or potential threats," added Wu soberly. Captain Kim studied the treaty thoughtfully. "We came out here to test a drive system. Instead, we've negotiated humanity's first interstellar agreement." She looked around at her crew. "When we return to Earth, everything changes. Space isn't empty anymore. It's full of civilizations, politics, dangers, and opportunities." 3 days later, with temporary repairs completed, the Defiant prepared to leave. Without its FTL drive, the journey home would take much longer, following a path through regions where Valerian supply ships could assist if needed. As they pulled away from the still-recovering alien fleet, Captain Hana stood at the view screen, watching the stars. "You know," she said quietly to pilot Jun Li, "when I was a child, I used to stare at the night sky and wonder if we were alone." "Now we know we're not," replied Jun. "Is that good or bad?" Hana thought about everything they had experienced: the fear, the desperate fight, the unexpected victory, the fragile peace. "It's just real," she finally answered. "The universe is bigger and more complex than we imagined, and now humanity has to find its place in it." In the ship's data core, the treaty with the Valerian Empire waited, the first page of a new chapter in human history. Whatever came next, nothing would ever be the same. As the Defiant set course for Earth, its crew carried not just the scars of battle, but the weight of transformation. They had left home as test pilots and engineers. They would return as the first humans to face the stars and prove that humanity would not be easily conquered. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, word was already spreading of a small, strange species that had done the impossible and changed the galaxy forever.